Baby, come here. Come on. Bed. Come bed. Set it first. Come on. Eyes looking good. Is your butt clean? Okay, here we go. Hi, baby. Summer. Come here. Okay. Morning. Ay, good morning to the west and good evening to the east. Wait. I'm trying a new camera because my phone battery ran out. So I'm sorry. How's the audio? The audio is fine, right? Is anyone online? Okay, here we go. Let's just wait for maybe 5 more minutes and then let's begin. Okay, thank you so much, Nicole. I'm using the iPad today because, yeah, I'm charging my phone right now because my students, they killed my phone batteries today. So, right. So, hello, Justin, and to your pups, Taco. Okay. So while waiting, for those who, if you guys have questions, just as usual, if you've joined us before, just leave them in the comments. I'll answer as much as I can. What else? Great. So today is gonna be more like an update of Finn. As I have mentioned earlier, his issues are starting to come out. It's a lot earlier than expected, but yeah, it's very much related to his size. But this is something that I kind of expected already. Here's my water. Wow, hello from the UAE. What time is it there right now? Okay, let's begin in a minute. Oh, 5 p.m. Good afternoon. As you can see, the girls are already, oh no, she's gonna walk away. Stay here, come on. It's her bedtime. She's not gonna cooperate. The beauty about the fluid pet buttons that I got them, since I don't get to exercise them as much because of COVID, I feel like it's tiring them out a lot because of the mental stimulation. Because even I'm tired. Alright. So let's begin. Okay, as promised, so if you guys you don't know yet, Finn is not with me anymore. But he occasionally visits me every so often, at least once a month, especially when his pet parents are not available to take care of him, or most especially when they run out of food. So a few weeks ago, I invited Finn over because his owners were not able to book a grooming session. And usually I have a groomer that comes here for the girls since the lockdown. My current groomer started offering home service, and of course, for the convenience, I availed that. And I informed my cousin, and she was saying that in their area, the grooming was 2 to 3 months booked already. So it would take Finn 3 months, meaning that time it was around August. So November would be his first grooming, and his fur was already a little out of whack. So they brought him over, and was supposedly going to stay here only for the day. But then I started noticing certain similarities of his not exactly behavior, what's that? Symptoms similar to the ones of Bailey. But the thing is, when Bailey had it, it started at least when she was around 9 months, probably. And it was an after effect of certain things that I did. It wasn't, I didn't think it was genetics right away. Because with Finn, he's only around 6 months. And he's already exhibiting similar issues with Bailey. So, as you guys all know, Finn is an extra extra small toy poodle. He's the one commonly tagged as a teacup poodle. And truthfully, he hasn't really grown since I got him a couple of months ago. And it's honestly very, very cute. But as expected, I was expecting health issues, which was something that we already discussed as a family. When they decided, I informed them of everything. That was something I was most concerned with, but they were open to it. So it was their decision, it wasn't mine. They chose to take him, but I did tell them that these are the possibilities that could happen. It's still your choice, but expect this. And true enough, it's coming out. So because Finn's body, for those of you who might have a puppy that's relatively the same size as Finn, because of the size of his body, his metabolism is a lot faster relative to the girls. The girls' metabolism are already relatively fast. Hi! For those who just arrived. So, yeah. Smaller dogs have faster metabolisms relative to bigger dogs. So, with Finn, you can expect it to be even twice as fast, even more so than Summer and Bailey. Not to mention he's a puppy, so his metabolism is even faster than normal. So that's like 2 to 3 times faster. This was not stated by me, okay? Just so we're clear, it's from my vet. So that means he has to eat more frequently than any regular dog, especially because he's a puppy. Sorry. So when he was here, I started noticing that he would vomit every 2 to 3 hours. They were already telling me that he was vomiting the yellowish foamy liquid that I mentioned in some videos. And I did tell them that it's because he's most likely hungry, or maybe he's skipping his meals. Now, we first thought that it was because he was starting to get picky, which was definitely a big part of it. But when he was here, it may be because he's not eating, but I gave him Summer and Bailey's food to make sure that he has something in his stomach. And we followed his schedule, which is 3 times a day. But nonetheless, he would still start vomiting in between the meals. So I told them, okay, I think there's something a little wrong. So I asked if he could stay with us for a couple of days. True enough, that night, after grooming, at night he would wake up to vomit. And I feel like he may be vomiting already in my cousin's place. But the thing is, he tends to eat it when the girls are not around. But the thing is, since the girls are around, he's a male dog. So he's more interested in the girls than other things, even food. So he would leave the vomit that he would leave behind. And that's when I started counting and observing his behavior. So what I deduced from the last few days that he stayed with me was that he had to eat at least every 3 hours. Otherwise, his stomach will start acting up. Now, it's really no big issue yet. I checked with the vet also. There's no major problem. It's just that we had to make sure that he had food in his stomach, and it's not helping that he was starting to get picky. So he has to eat every 3 hours because he digests his food within 3 hours. So as a precaution or like a preventive, we started giving him cooked food in the meantime, see if it works, mixing it with kibble, because it's a little different. I cannot give him Summer and Bailey's food because that's made for adults. And he still needs the kibble, especially because I don't think my family is gonna be able, I mean, my cousin's family will not be able to do the same things as I am as of the moment. But I did open up that option to them. And what's important is, they're not exactly one thing that I don't like. Okay, so the reason why I do not like recommending breeders, nor do I promote any breeder, is not only because it's so hard to find a reputable one, but it's such a big responsibility to take on that you would recommend someone, and then when there's something wrong, people have this natural tendency. I mean, I'm not saying all, but there's that feeling that you will feel culpable for that issue. So I choose not to. I choose not to do it. And I made sure that when we discussed, me helping them find a pup for them, that I will not be held responsible for anything. But nonetheless, it's still hard because even if they don't impose it on me, it's myself who kind of carries that burden. So it's such a hassle. But don't get me wrong, I really love Finn, and they did express how much they love Finn so much. Even my cousin, because she's studying, she's a med student, and she tells me that she's so glad that she got the dog during the holidays because it's really helping her with her sanity for when she's studying, because medicine is really hard. So yep, Finn's issues have been popping up. I also noticed certain deformities, which is to be expected because he's the runt of the litter. He's not the perfect square of a poodle. So because I've been getting comments about Summer being not a poodle. You guys, she's a purebred poodle. She's not a Bichon Frise, and she's not a mix or anything. I've tested her genetics. She's pure poodle. But the thing is, like I said, when it comes to breeding, if the breeder does not understand the breed standard, most puppies will end up being deformed. Not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with any sort of deformity, so long as so long as there's no health issue or it's not impairing to the dog. Like, they will still have quality of life. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not judging the dogs based on that. It's just that, let's clarify. The reason why Summer is a bit longer than the breed standard is because she doesn't fall under the breed standard. That's how genetics came out to be. So between the two, Bailey is actually the one that follows the breed standard. Because one of the main breed standards, if you guys are looking for a puppy and you want to check, a poodle has to be square. What does that mean? Their legs, the height of their legs should be proportionate to how long their bodies are. Even as puppies, you should be able to see that already. If the puppy is a little longer than the height of the pup's legs, expect that your puppy will be a little bit longer. Not as long as like a Dachshund, or how do you pronounce it? Dachshund? Dachshund? That's how they're gonna turn out to be. And that was one of my worries before when Summer was growing up, and that's how it started my craziness for like finding out about the breed and stuff. It's because I started reading up, because Summer was exhibiting like features that were not poodle like, so I thought she wasn't a poodle, not to mention her coat was changing and stuff like that. So even if she can pass for a Bichon per se, Bichons are pure white. Summer is not pure white, so she's definitely not Bichon. She's a purebred poodle. It's just that she's a little longer. She's not the square poodle. Hello to the ones who have just joined us from the US and Canada. Hi, thanks for joining us. So, yeah, I'm definitely sad that Finn ended up having those health issues, but other than that, he's surprisingly very healthy compared to Bailey. Because at that age, with Bailey, I've already gone to the vet at least maybe 3 times for so many reasons. Number one was the laxating patella. She started exhibiting it at 6 months, if I'm not mistaken. And then she had liver issues. She had gastro issues. That was around 9 months when she was diagnosed. And other than that, Finn, I think, will be fine. So that's the compromise that I mentioned earlier on. What I did not like for my experience was that I wasn't aware and I wasn't given a choice of what the possibilities were. And I'm not blaming anyone. I only have myself to blame. But that was something I felt was deprived from me. That choice of, learning and knowing that they could possibly have this because of this. Which is why those are the things that I keep sharing. I hope that helps. Thank you. I hope so too. I think he's gonna be fine. He's one strong pup. Not to mention, he has that crazy strong hormones. Oh my gosh, it was such a nightmare when he was here. I never want a male dog. Because even he's potty trained. He's 100% potty trained. But when the girls are here, oh my gosh, he marks everywhere. Like crazy. And not to mention the humping. I do not miss the humping. Don't get me wrong. Summer and Bailey humps each other. But it's not the male humping. It's just like either playing or trying to dominate each other. Because, can you guys guess who's my alpha? Many people mistake who's the alpha in the pack. It took me a while to figure out who's the alpha of the pack. But one of them is definitely the alpha of the pack. And humping between females is trying to dominate each other. So if you guys have female dogs, you can expect that. Other than that, health-wise, the girls are perfectly fine. Thank God. We haven't gone to the vet in, I would say, 3 years. proudly, except for we don't count the annual health checkups. So that's a really really strong feat. The the expensive supplements and their crazy food are worth it. I can only attest it to that. But I'm not saying that you should do that route. It's just that it's what works for them, and I could do it. So by all means. Okay. Any questions for those of you who are online? Feel free to shoot them here. What was that? Are there any questions? Hello. Warlip, Poodle, Tito, and Lucas say hi. Hi, Lucas and Tito. Tito and Lucas are the dogs, right? I'm sorry. You know what? The funny thing is, when you're a pet parent, you will remember the dogs' names, but you will not remember the humans' names. That was always the case when we were in dog parks, or well, prior the pandemic. But now, nobody really goes to the parks, and I honestly miss the interaction. Not to mention not health issues. Behavioral issues are starting to pop up. Some of babies' behavioral issues are coming out. And don't worry if your dog is acting up. It's not entirely your fault. It's the lack of human interaction as well. Hello to Mia and Kiba as well. Okay, if there are no questions, shall we proceed? I'm so excited to talk about it. This is in no way sponsored whatsoever, okay? I'm so happy I got this. I don't know, for those who haven't followed us, like I started getting this for the health issues. So I want to teach them this so that maybe if by any chance they could learn the words, they can tell me when they're hurt. So that's my main goal for this one. I honestly wasn't expecting that fast progress because in 7 days we've gotten a lot of progress for sure, because I follow so many YouTubers who try to teach their pets. There are some who have already gone to week 17. Week 17. And none of their pets have started pressing the buttons yet, so that's a big deal. So I hope I would be able to teach them those words. It's just that I still can't figure out how I'm gonna associate the word hurt or ouch to something, because it would have been perfect during the time when I spayed them, because that's definitely an ouch and hurt moment. But now I can't think of like an ouch or a hurt moment. Okay, here we go with the questions. So we have Nicole. Nicole is asking, do red colored poodles change to apricot? Yes, it's very possible for red poodles to turn apricot when they're younger. When they're older, sorry. I don't know if I can show you. Babe, come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come on. Come on, I have a treat. Come here. Oh, boy. Okay, here we go. So here's Bailey, right? So normally the coat color that you will see is the outside. She's a little different because of the lighting, okay? But as you can see, some parts of her are already fading because this is normal when they start getting older. The best way to figure out if they're gonna fade or where they're gonna fade would be the roots of their coat. So see here, Bailey's coat is getting lighter, but it still has that shine of red. So I know that her color will still be red, but when she was a puppy, she's like a mahogany color. And I don't know, she just started fading. And I don't know if you will see it. Baby, show your face. See around her eyes? Treat, you know the treat? It's starting to fade, and that's of old age. I don't think I'm ever gonna get another red poodle or like a dark colored poodle because I'm so sad. She's starting to look like a grandma because her face, with dogs, you will know their age with their faces. I don't know if you guys have noticed, golden retrievers, their faces turn white when they're old. And I feel like it's the same for poodles, at least the ones with the darker colors. So anyway, here, her coat from the roots is darker. The camera's not working. Is darker than her outer coat. So you will know that the one that's growing from the roots are darker. I don't know if that makes sense. But that's how it works for the coat. So even as puppies, you will actually be able to see it. But if a breeder will tell you like as early as when they're born, it's really hard to tell by then. You should wait at least 1 month to figure out what will happen to the coat because it's usually the roots that will tell you whether they will fade or not. Because there are some that are born light and then they turn dark. But those are very rare cases if I am not mistaken. It's mostly fading that happens as they get older. So yes, red poodles can fade to apricot. Thankfully, Bailey did not fade into apricot. But she's definitely a lighter red compared to when she was a puppy. Alright. So, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Zarimilin? She's asking, should I start to cook food for them? How old is your puppy in the first place? If it's still a pup, I'm not a vet, but it's really up to you if you want to try. But you're gonna have to have a vet formulate the recipe for you at the very least. You can do DIY when they're older, but I feel like when they're puppies, it's very hard for us to be able to get the proper nutrition right because it's very crucial that they get it. When I'm not saying it's impossible if you're gonna cook, but it's definitely a lot harder. You're gonna have to invest in the supplements as well. You have to get it right properly. There's no harm in doing that. If you can do it, by all means do it. She mentioned the age. Of course I did not read. 8 months old. Since they're 8 months old, why not wait it out a little bit more? I started cooking for them at 1 year. But then again, that's because I didn't know about home cooked stuff and raw back then. But just to be on the safe side, wait it out for a year. You're almost there anyway. It's 3 months away. You can try mixing it because the beauty of kibble is that it's completely balanced. Just get the best quality kibble that you can and then transition them later on. I think that's what I would do. Unless you would be willing to invest in having a vet formulate it for you. There are a lot of companies that do it for you. I did ask NHV if they formulate for puppies. They haven't gotten back to me because my aunt is asking if they could formulate one for Finn as well. So I'll get back to you guys on that. But there are a lot. Dr. Becker, I know she offers that. I just don't know if she does until now. There are a lot more holistic vets as well, most especially in the US. You guys are so lucky there. That's what I miss the most. prior the pandemic, it's so easy for me to fly. I usually fly somewhere to unwind. Or my goal was to always fly at least once a year to either the US or Canada. But since the pandemic, of course, that's not gonna happen. It's mostly for buying stuff and a little bit of vacation. And yeah, it's sad. Anyway, so we have Venus's question as well. Did your fur babies ever had problems with fungal infection and dandruff type? That's their current problem. For fungal on the skin, no. But Summer did have a yeast infection in her ear. That's considered a fungal infection as well. It was cured by a topical. But for the coat, we never had any problem like that. A first aid that you can do is use sulfur soap for fungal infections. But if it's the dandruff kind, if I'm not mistaken, that's demo something mange. The rescue that I helped back then had that, and it's usually cured by a certain shampoo. Depending on the severity, I know it can be cured by a shampoo. And if not, the vet will really have to give you orals that will last at least 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. And some topical. Again, it really depends on the situation. Food also helps, but it's best to check with your vet because it's hard to give advice if like I only know a gist of the story, because I don't want to say something improper and then it'll lead to, more complicated stuff. But yeah. If you're curious for the fungal infection in the ear, the medicine was Otiderm, if I'm not mistaken. It's not over the counter. You're gonna have to need a written prescription from a vet to be able to purchase it. But what was interesting was when I was in Singapore, it was over the counter. So I was so tempted to buy one as a first aid, because I'm super paranoid and everything, because you never know when there's like if let's say in my head, what if the volcano explodes or stuff like that, and I'm not gonna have access to any medicine. So my paranoid self has like first aid medicines that I always update for like emergency for both humans and the dogs. Thankfully, it worked out because during the pandemic, my gosh, I remember last year everybody was running out of medicine everywhere. So everyone was panicking buying their medicines. I'm like, I have a set good for 1 year. I'm safe. So I'm thankful for that. Alright, next. Jebby Mama. I will tell you to poodle friends that bought from the best poodle show breeder and experienced gastric issues with their pups. So we have to be ready for anything. That's true. That's totally true. Just because you get from supposedly the best people doesn't mean there won't ever be any problem. And I'm not saying that you should only get from show breeders or anything like that. Please don't get me wrong. I should make a video also, to be fair, regarding the show breeders. That's what I mean by you have to find the right people that will resonate with you. Even if, let's say, you have the money and you have all the options to meet all the people that you want, even if they are supposedly tagged as the best, oh my gosh, here in the Philippines, we have this culture of tagging the best of the best as the only best option out there. But even the best that I know of have their own, quirks, and I don't want to say anything unnecessary, but let's leave it at nobody's perfect. And the only thing I could advise you is to find the breeder that will resonate with your values, your ethics. That's why it would be best if you talk to them. Find ones that you think you could be friends with, and those who will help you. Because there are even great breeders, even if they're backyard breeders, the ones who really treat their dogs as pets. I would much rather, honestly, take a pup from them. Um, Although in the future, I do want to try showing a pup. So I'm considering getting one from a show breeder. But I'm taking my time because it's also really very hard to find. Although I have good friends who are more than willing to help. There's one show breeder here in the Philippines who's amazing. I've learned so much from her. It's just that she doesn't want to be named. But yeah, nobody's perfect. But the only best way that we could, get these things is to make sure that we know what we're getting ourselves into and then just prepare for it. You really never know. What's nice about the US and Canada is that you guys have insurances. Although I know not all insurances are really good. But here it's really, you have to save up for yourself and, for your future and stuff. So for me, I have a separate bank account for my girls since we don't have insurances for them. Every month I transfer money there so that, when the time comes and I need it, it's not a big thing for me to bring out money for them. That's something you can look at as well. So I totally agree with Jabi Mama that there's really no guarantee, which is why please, I've been getting a lot of DMs, like mean DMs about me being selfish, not sharing the breeders that I know and stuff like that. The thing is, guys, it's really hard to recommend somebody because you will be held culpable even if they say that they won't. Oh, believe me, I've had my fair share of experiences and it's not a nice feeling. So I'd rather not step on those waters. So I strongly recommend that you have it health tested. There are so many not so expensive genetic health testing kits. I know there's Embark, and then there's another one. There's 3 in the US. The one I've tried is Embark. For those who are curious, there are a lot of videos on YouTube already on Embark. It's possible that when you genetically test one using one brand, it will vary from brand to brand because they only compare it to their set of studies that is within the company. There's a geneticist on YouTube. I will link her YouTube account after this live because I forgot her name, but it's in my history. I was just watching her video about her dog's health testing. It's very interesting. But what's nice was when she was comparing the 3 is that the first 2 breeds that came up, because her dog is a mix, it's still it's same across the board. So you would see that more or less it's pretty much accurate at the very least, the 2 main ones. So there's really no guarantee with the health testing. But one thing is for sure, if you're testing for health, that is 100% accurate. But if it's just for genetics to prove if your dog is a poodle or not, or what specific breed or not, that's the one that can vary a little bit. But you guys have to watch it. Her video is very interesting. And I love it because she's actually a geneticist, so she explains it thoroughly in such a way that lay people like us will be able to understand. So I promise I will link that up later. Alright, next. Tito is bright white, but his brother Lucas started out champagne color? What is champagne color? And recently he's gotten a little red color around the mouth and eyes. Hi Nikolai, thank you for thinking that the girls are cute. It takes a lot of effort to keep their coats like that. Your boys are only 2 years old. Hello, tier 2 pups. Thank you, Nicole. She's my pretty fried chicken. I call her my fried chicken because she's extra round right now. She was smaller prior to the pandemic because we got to exercise every day. But since we have been in like non-stop lockdowns, I've been trying to follow as much as I can because the guards are telling me to just go back, even if I'm wearing a mask and everything. And plus, I didn't want to be tagged as that neighbor who doesn't follow the rules. Although there are a lot who still don't follow the rules to be quite honest. Nikolai, when you buy again a poodle, if you buy a new one, you can buy a party black white poodle and name it Oreo. That's a cute name. But I definitely do not want a dark colored pup at all. Because when they age, you guys have to know that they will fade, especially their face. So between the two, Summer is actually the older pup. But then Bailey, more often than not, looks older than Summer, especially now that her fur around her eyes and her face is fading to white. I'm so sad. She's only 7 years old. The goal is 20 years. The goal is 20 years. 20 years. Whew. But yes, but even if the poodle is white, I think I can still name it Oreo. That's a cute name. Because I was already eyeing on the name Winter for... I want a white pup and I would name it Winter in contrast to Summer. On paper, Bailey's name is actually Autumn. But I had to change her name because... So here in the Philippines, we have what you call house help. We're privileged enough to be able to afford house help. And so here in the Philippines, we have a lot of languages and stuff. So our house help back then was from the southern region, and they have a certain accent when they speak in Tagalog or when they speak Filipino and when they speak in English. There's a certain accent, and there's totally nothing wrong, and I'm not judging them based on their accents. It's just that when they pronounce it, the name becomes a word that's inappropriate. So I had to give her a name that's easier for them to pronounce. So that's the story. I couldn't call Bailey Autumn because of that. It's a really bad word. Alright, so Leslie has a question. No, wait, I skipped a few. Hold on. Let me scroll up. Sorry. Nikolai. Okay, we're done with that. Charmelin is 8 months old. Is there any specific treat for toy poodles? Honestly, for treats, you can pick out whatever you think is best for your own dogs. Personally, since I feed all natural stuff, I feed them mostly meaty treats because they don't really need a lot of carbs. Not to mention the carbs will really cause them to get big fast. That was my mistake with my Chihuahua. So my Chihuahua was obese, and it did not help his health issues back then because we only fed him rice and soup as his meal because he started rejecting kibble and stuff. Of course, I didn't know any better, and I didn't really do my research back then, so I don't think that helped his liver issue. Yes. Leslie. Hi, Leslie. Good morning. I started using NHV based on your recommendation, and my toy poodle and Maltese have never been healthier. I am so happy to hear that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I'm happy that it works out. NHV, the idea of NHV didn't come from me. I credit to my friend Hazel. I don't know if I've told you guys that story. I only got NHV because of her, because her dog got cancer and had like an enlarged heart. And during that time, I've been looking for new supplements for Bailey because I've tried a lot. Okay, if I remember correctly in order, I've tried Zesty Paws, Kin and Kind. I've also tried, what's the brand of Dogs Naturally magazine? Something like four leaf something. What else? I've also tried the local supplements here that are available. I forgot what they were, but the same brand as LC Vit. That's the name. And then Immunopause, I've also tried that. What else? Mostly the ones from Bow and Wow. It's like an all-natural pet store here in the Philippines. I've tried most of them. What else were there? There were other brands that were created by certain vets. And really, NHV was the only one that, just so we're clear, they're not sponsoring it whatsoever. I'm really just sharing it because it really works. But it comes at a price. So you just have to be ready for that. But nonetheless, since I have small dogs, it's not as heavy as, for ones with bigger dogs. I totally understand. If you have toy dogs, it's not as bad as you think. It'll last you a while. Quite frankly, I'm not really following the rules as well as to giving them every day. There are times that I forget and sometimes I also skip because I switch up supplements. I have two brands that I kind of alternate because one is like a general supplement to balance their meals, and the other one, which is NHV, they're the ones that are specifically targeted. Although I do give the multi-essentials as like a general, but it's different. It's still a little different from the other one that I give, which is Augustine approved. I give the Super Boost because, like I said, I cook for them and I give them raw, so that helps out balance the nutrients that are lacking. It's a brand from Australia, and I learned about it from regularly going to the Pet Expo in Singapore. And how many years has it been? Probably it's been 3 or 4 years since I started using Augustine approved as well. And I definitely highly, I haven't talked about that brand, haven't I? Maybe in a future video I can talk about like the supplements that I give, because I've been getting a lot of those DMs as well. So yeah, there are only 2 brands that I currently stick with. NHV is my main one, and I have Augustine approved as well for their raw meals. So thank you, Leslie. I am so happy that it's working out for you. But yes, all natural. So Venus, is it true that shaved cut would make them curlier? I like them curly. It's my pup's first groom soon. I also heard that when they were puppies, but I honestly never had them shaved because the curly coats cost the matting more. But so long as you maintain it like a certain length, I think it should be fine. But I did hear that. I've never tried it though. But regardless, I feel like even if you don't do that, they will. The main reason that they do that shaving thing is to totally get rid of the puppy coat. But when it grows, you definitely will get rid of it for sure after a year. But if you want to speed it up, then by all means do so. What type of cut? It's really up to you. Since you said you like them curly, that would mean you don't want it too long, like I do. If you guys will notice, I only really keep them in the teddy bear puppy cut. I think that's what it's called. Some call it the teddy bear cut, or some call it like the puppy cut. So some people would combine the two, so it's really confusing. What I would recommend that you do is find a picture of how you want your pup to look like, and then have the groomer copy it. There was a time when I was so crazy about like how they look and stuff like that because of all the Japanese poodles that I see. They were so beautiful and their hairdos are so funky and stuff. I used to dress them up for a while, like the first 2 years. And I did like have like a closet for them for their clothes, but I got tired of it and it really wasn't my thing, so I stopped. But yeah, try the puppy cut. And it's up to you. When you give a puppy cut, you let them know if you want to have their paws shaved. Because I personally do not like it shaved. I like that bear-like paw, so I keep it not shaved. It's really out of preference. Like, there's no meaning to it. Let's see. My daughter wants to start a junior handling. She wants me to show beaver terriers or Yorkies. Yes, my friend has a beaver Yorkie. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's the Yorkie that's white, black, and like a tan color. They're beautiful. They're super beautiful. Go for it. Why not? I don't know how to pronounce your name. Jagar? They're asking, what's your opinion regarding the increasing number of backyard breeders here in the Philippines, especially during the pandemic? Oh, that's a very, very sensitive topic. I'm honestly very saddened by that because I'm sure that most, if not all of them, are dog lovers on their own. But I don't support the idea of using your dogs or thinking of pets as investments. Because quite frankly, they're not investments. Not unless like you're gonna try to make money off their puppies and stuff like that. Or you're gonna sell them for breeding, like, because here in the Philippines there's what you call stud. People earn from that as well. I will not say it publicly. I really don't like it. What's even sadder is, okay, so the poodle breed for a while died down. The popularity died down because of the history of a certain breeder who bought, I think, 20 pairs of dogs, if I'm not mistaken, if not 10 to 15 pairs of dogs. And they started breeding those dogs and sold them for a premium and would recommend people getting a pair each time. Because of that, it started producing aggressive pups and ones that are crazy, crazy, crazy unhealthy. And they will not even live for more than 3 years. So it's really sad that it's going back to that. Not to mention now, when people hear how much they pay for a poodle now, you can't blame people also for feeling that, wow, if I get one and then I have them have babies, then I'm gonna earn this much money. But I definitely don't support that. If ever in the future I do breed, I plan to breed maybe 1 or 2 litters, or maximum 3. That's a stretch. After that, that's it. I think of my dogs as family, and I do regret not breeding summer ones. Bailey, I definitely regret it, but I really had no plans of breeding her at all, especially when during the first year she was very unhealthy and stuff. But summer, I did try, and it was with the same friend that I was telling you, who's like one of the best show breeders in the Philippines. They would show internationally as well. And yeah, it's just that it didn't work out. We tried for 2 years. I guess she doesn't want to have puppies, and after that, I spayed her. I was judged by some of the local people here saying that you wasted your dog. I'm like, oh, excuse me, who are you to say that? So yeah, be careful with the increasing imported pups. Many will just, for some reason here in the Philippines, when a dog or any product is tagged as imported, it's automatically the value of it, as well as how people perceive the thing or the pet or anything, is like in a pedestal, in a golden pedestal. It's crazy. They won't even think twice or question it just because it was tagged imported. And they don't even have proof that if the pup was really imported or not. So be extra vigilant now, because just as we as buyers or as owners, prospective owners, are educated, they are as educated as well. So really crazy. I have 2 pups and their siblings, male and female. Research and got some opinion. I'm worried about them to mate. Ah ha 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 ha. You should be worried about the mating of a pair. It's okay to get siblings, but it's very dangerous, especially at 6 months. You should have one spayed right away. If not, separate them until you have one spayed or neutered. Otherwise, there will be accidents, trust me. If you would notice, I don't know if any of you are fans of Tucker, that famous golden retriever. What they got, so Tucker had puppies, and normally people would want a female, but Courtney chose to have a male dog, and that's most likely because she knows there may be accidents because Tucker is not neutered. So just be careful. Because as early as 6 months, they can have puppies. So long as your female starts going in heat, a so-called puppy male dog who already has that drive can have puppies with that female. Nicole Williams, when I get a toy poodle, I may not spay it, but we'll see. But do your girls get irritated when they are in heat? Do they mind being groomed when they are in heat? It's okay if you don't spay your dogs. It's a personal choice. I spayed them at 4 years for summer, and almost no 3.5 years or 4 years for summer, and then for Bailey, it took us a while to get her stats low enough or normal enough for the vet to approve the anesthetics and spay her. So I think 5 or 6 years old when I had her spayed. Probably 5 years old. So I waited it out until they don't need the hormones anymore. Because in the past, as early as 6 months, they spay or neuter dogs, and even 1 year of age. But new studies have been saying, if you guys are following Dr. Becker, she talks about it a lot, that dogs actually need their hormones when they grow up. And so if there is no need for you to spay or neuter your dog right away, then no, don't do it. But it depends on the situation. For example, one of our viewers who was saying that they have a male and female dog. If they have no intention of having puppies and it's really not ideal for siblings to be mating in the first place, then the best option is to spay or neuter one of the pups. When they were in heat, they were definitely irritable, but they weren't aggressive whatsoever. But they would lose their appetite, just like any normal girl would feel when they have their period. I still groom them, but it's a little harder because when you start cleaning them up, they would start bleeding a little bit. But don't worry, since your dog is very small, the bleeding is not that bad. Like it doesn't drip like a big dog would drip. It's just that when they sit, then there's blood there. And they tend to smell, huh? They're gonna smell like blood even if you give them a bath. They will smell like blood for that whole month. So yeah, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. I will get back to it when I remember. Growing up. Okay, Jana is saying, growing up, multiple color was not acceptable. What changed us to acceptability now? I would have to agree. Like I said before, there's like a bias between the solid and the party colors before. Um, there were anti-party colored poodles, and then there were anti-show breeders, because the show breeders are tagged as the ones who are pro solid and anti-party. But there may be some who are like that, but it's really not everybody. So yes, there was definitely a bias. And as far as I know until now, the reason why they are not accepting party colored poodles yet is because they cannot set a standard rule for the markings. Because the minute they accept it, then the markings for the solid, or the rules for the solid colors, will be contradicted. So I don't know how they're gonna figure out how to do that, but I'm sure in time. I'm sure in time, things will change. But what's important for me is that there are still those real and good breeders who will maintain the breed. Because if we just leave it up to people who just want to, breed the dogs and whatsoever, we might lose this beautiful breed. Not to mention, everybody literally breeds the poodle to everything. Haven't you guys heard of like every single doodle out there? Like cockapoo, maltipoo, pugapoo, corgi poo, what else? Husky poo, whatever, labradoodles, golden doodles. They would even mix it with the Irish Terrier. I don't know what they call that doodle. What else? Those are the common ones that I know. But one thing is common among those. They want the non-shedding of poodles. And I have nothing against people who want to breed. Don't get me wrong. And it's not like I judge the dog just because it's like a mixed breed. No, it's really just the practice, the irresponsible practice. Because think about it. Until now, I have never heard of like a third generation or a fourth generation of these mixes. The only thing they're doing is getting a purebred dog from one breed, let's say a standard poodle, and then another purebred dog, which is, let's say, a golden retriever, and they would mix it. And that's what would produce the golden doodle. But they will never, nobody has ever recommended that they will breed the first generation to another first generation. What they will recommend is mixing a first gen purebred and a first gen purebred of another breed. So how is that responsible breeding? That for me, I don't understand why there's a need to mix the two. Because, like I said, I wanted a golden retriever. They're perfect as they are. Just as I want a standard poodle, they're perfect as they are too. Why mix the two? If they're worried about, let's say, the coats of the poodle, you really think when you mix those two dogs that the coat will not be hard to maintain? A lot of breeders, a lot of groomers in the States are complaining about the mixed poodle and another breed. Their coats are one of the hardest to maintain, according to them. So, if the logic there is you want a non-shedding version of a golden retriever, when you mix the two, you will never get a golden retriever. You're gonna get a mixed breed dog. And yes, they're cute, and yes, they look like teddy bears. But, poodles look like teddy bears. It just depends on the grooming. That's it. But if there is a breeder who will try to develop an actual breed from, let's say, the golden doodle, then by all means go ahead. But so far, really, please, if there is one, I would love to get to know them and meet them and stuff. If it is something that they're really working on. Because every single beautiful breed that we have right now came from that. But honestly, so far, the ones who mix the dogs, I haven't seen anyone mixing second generation and third generation. Because when they did, it produced a horrible mix and genetic problems. That's as far as my research has heard. Or is gone. Oh my gosh, it keeps skipping. I am sorry if I missed out your question. Just message them again if ever I missed it out. Do they mind being groomed? So, definitely, I remember my trail of thought. Nope, they don't mind it when they're being groomed when they're in heat. It depends on the dog. Lastly, here in the States, backyard breeders getting out of control. People are all breeding siblings to each other and not caring about health standards. That's true too. And what's even sadder is sometimes they tell lies that it's for their breeding practices. Okay, this is something that was shared to me by a friend who's a breeder. It is a part of their practice to maintain a certain trait or to keep the trait inside the genome is by breeding the parent to the child. They can do that, but never siblings, as far as I know. They can breed the mom to a son, and they can breed the dad to a daughter, that's accepted, if I'm not mistaken, even in the AKC, depending on the purpose as to why they would do that. I know they can also do it with grandchildren of the pups with the parents, but it can never be, let's say you have the first generation and then the second generation. The second generation will be bred to their own puppies. No, I think it's the first gen to the third gen as well. If and only if they are trying to keep a certain trait of the dog, let's say the temperament. That's how they domesticated wolves in the first place. They bred wolves that have the gentler personalities that would tolerate humans and stuff. So that might be useful information for those who are looking for puppies. Never accept ones where the parents are siblings. Anyway, they will not be allowed to be registered in the AKC or any kennel club if the parents are siblings. Breeding is very expensive when done correctly. I've thought about becoming a hobby breeder, but it makes me nervous. Oh my gosh, I feel the same way. I have considered it many times. Hobby breeder. But then what I'm most worried about is finding good homes for the puppies. And the fact that I'm not even sure if I'm gonna be willing to let go. But maybe in the future, we'll see. Maybe. Just a big maybe. But yes, it's very expensive. Which is why, for me, if the person that you are getting the dog from is really doing their work and asking you a premium, ask for proof as to where that money is going. Because if they're really doing it properly, meaning doing all the genetic health tests, giving them the best food and stuff like that, it's quite pricey. And a certain price of, let's say, $3,000 to $4,000 for a pup, for a pet pup, is, for me, acceptable if they're doing those things. But if not, ask yourselves where the money is going to. When did your pup starting going in heat? Summer had it at 8 months old. Bailey had hers at almost 1 year of age. Leslie, my toy poodle didn't have her first heat until after she was a year old. Yep, some dogs have that. My holistic vet appointment told me, and it's not a good idea to breed a pup until she has her second heat. Yes, that is true too. Personally, I wouldn't recommend breeding a dog, a toy dog, until 2 years of age, because that's when they reach full adulthood. But again, that's just my personal opinion. What are the signs or changing behavior of female pups when starting to go in heat? Usually they start losing their appetite. That's the first thing I noticed with the girls. Don't worry, they don't get aggressive whatsoever when they're in heat. They just become a little bit more lazy and they don't want to play as often, those things. But other than that, nothing major. Party-colored poodles can be registered in the AKC, as far as I know. It's just that they're not allowed to be shown whatsoever. They're still purebred poodles. Because you never know when a party color will come out. It's a genetic fault. Play biting when they were little, it's really just the toys. Find out what your dog looks like. Some dogs like soft toys, like my girls. If you notice all their toys are soft toys, it's because they like soft toys. They don't really like the hard toys. They tolerate the ones that are rubber, but other than that, they will not play with anything other than the soft toys. And I'm lucky that they're not. One of them's not destructive when it comes to the toys, because the other one is destructive. She's the one who ruins all the toys. I have like a stash of new toys all the time here. When they start breaking the toys, I would try to sew them and try to mend as much as possible and make them last for as long as I can. If not, I'm just gonna throw them away and get them new ones. Play biting. I have a video on that. I'm not sure if you've watched it. You can try doing that. Otherwise, I think you may have yourself a high energy dog, so that would mean you have to exercise it. When they're getting disruptive, that's because they have so much pent up energy inside, and you haven't helped them release that energy. So try as best as you can to exercise them. Let's see. Multi-poo. Bernard Doodle. Yes, there's that too. Aussie Doodles. Yes. Mixes are getting so popular, and what's not helping are the celebrities and their when they claim that their dogs being mixes are rare and a certain price tag. It does not help. If it was like an accident or stuff like that, there's really nothing wrong. But if they're doing it for business, would you believe a multi-poo costs twice as much as a poodle? So you can somewhat, I understand, especially now that it's a pandemic, that people are trying to find ways to earn more money. I totally understand that. Which is why I'm only expressing my selfish opinion and I'm not trying to impose it on other people. We have different views. Just because I'm saying this doesn't mean it's the right thing to say in the first place. It's just that that's my view. I won't force it on people, but I hope people will not impose their beliefs on me either. And like I said, I'm only sharing these things so that you have another, side of the coin that you can look at to decipher what works for you or not. Would you get a big dog in the future? I definitely want a standard poodle. But until I still live with my parents, and I know it's something strange for those in the US, but here in the Philippines or in the East, it's something very normal and not something frowned upon. That's how family is for us. Especially now that they're getting older and they're getting weaker. Usually the children take care of the parents. If you have siblings, then you're gonna talk it amongst yourselves. Who's gonna take care of our parents and stuff? So you work together as to who will stay with the parents and like who will keep the parents and stuff, like or who takes turns and stuff. It's how it's how our culture is. And so my sister just left. There cannot be not a daughter inside the house. It's usually the daughters that take care of the parents here. So while I'm stuck with that, I cannot have a big dog. We'll see. I do hope to get my own place in the future. I mean, not that I'm gonna kick out my parents or anything like that, but with that, at least they won't have too much of a say if I get a dog or not. They still think I'm crazy for all the things I do for my dogs. Thankfully, I have YouTube now, so they don't complain as much because they know I keep using the excuse that I'm earning money from that stuff. Just leave me alone. They think it's big, but it's not. It's an acceptable amount, and I'm super thankful for all of you. Thank you for the support, because you saved me from the expenses of the dogs. It at least pays for the expenses of my dogs, and I really appreciate it. In the future, I definitely hope to share it with you guys in however form. Um, I just, okay, let's answer it publicly na nga. Because I've been getting so many DMs as people asking for money for shelters and stuff. Guys, I have a shelter that I support myself. And please give me that freedom to choose which ones I want to support. I just don't publicly share it because I don't believe in charity that is used to market or make somebody look like a hero. I don't need to be a hero. I I don't need that tag of wow, she donates and does these things for other people. I believe in charity like out of the heart, out of the bottom of your heart. If you're doing it to gain fame, for me that's no longer charity. I'm sorry. Again, that's just my selfish opinion and that's my selfish idealisms and idealistic views. And I know it's frowned upon by a lot of people, but yes, I don't like using charity for business. I have a business, a pet food business, and that's another social media where I get a lot of requests for donations and mean messages like you're so selfish, you're earning so much and stuff like that, and donating and stuff. You know, there's just so much negativity on the internet, and like I said, I do share to the right people for me, and we are all free to do that. And yeah, I just choose not to share it on social media. I don't need to. I don't want to in the first place. I will never share that. But if, let's say, asking for help and stuff, there have been messages like that too. It's just I'm still quite apprehensive about those things as well. I don't want to impose on people and make them feel like they need to help. For those who want to help and help charities and stuff, just message us privately. I don't want people to feel forced to feel bad because it causes anxiety too. Again, that's just my preference. So yeah, please, I hope you guys will respect that, or at least I hope this helps explain my views on that. Jan, what's your thoughts on getting a rescue dog? Of course, go for it if you can. I did check shelters before adopting my girls if there was a poodle available or like a non-shedding dog. But the thing is, there weren't any, so I had no choice but to buy one. Just make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into, because rescues are not easy. I've fostered some. I've helped rehome some as well. I helped out with the training and stuff. And there were instances when the new owners were bitten. And I was almost bitten as well. It's definitely not easy. That's why I have so much respect for those who rescue. Because those poor dogs have gone through a certain trauma. So it's best if the ones who rescue are experienced owners. I wouldn't recommend it for first-time owners. Unless the dog is tagged as, you know, having a great personality for first-time owners. Because you can ask that from shelters. I'm sure they would be more than happy to share with you if that dog would fit your personality. Or I know in the US there are some that will allow you to, I don't remember what website that was that my friend was telling me about. It's when they have the foster homes bring the dogs to you, and then you get to experience having a dog for like the day with the foster. You can look into that, because that's how you will know also if the dog will be a good fit for your family. Yes, I fully support rescues. If I can, I would. The dog that I flew to Thailand 2 years ago was a rescue. Um, he was rescued, I think, from a pet store here in the Philippines or something. He was abandoned by the owner after being groomed, and he was stuck in this tiny cage and stuff. Ah, no, 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 that's Jack. The other one was also rescued in another pet store as well. We have a rescue in the family. His name is Jack. He's a West Highland Terrier. He's with my aunt. I haven't had a video with Jack yet. So I adopted him for my aunt. Yes, I am the dog lady of the family. When they want dogs, they call me first. Turns that time my aunt's mini pincher passed away, and she was looking for a new dog. And then my friend called me up that they're trying to rehome on this West Highland Terrier, and I went with them to meet up with the dog to see how the dog's personality is and stuff, because my grandmother used to live with that aunt, and I cannot have a dog that will jump around and accidentally topple over my grandmother and stuff. I also cannot have like a noisy dog, otherwise my grandmother will be having a hard time sleeping and stuff like that. So when I met Jack, he was just such an amazing dog, and the owner was saying that it's the first time that Jack approached the person right away. And when she saw that, she's like, I think he chose you guys. I'm like, I think he's a perfect fit too. So the rest is history. He's been with us for how many years? Maybe 4 years already? He's already a senior dog, don't get me wrong. So yeah, I'm all for rescues, so long as they would be the right fit for the right family. Okay, what are your thoughts on rescue dogs? Okay, we're done with that. I feel the same way. I might have them all unreasonably placing them in the puppies. Yeah, it's hard to rehome puppies. Jones Glino, hi, hello, thank you for joining us. I heard toy poodles may tend to bark a lot. I will have my first toy poodle in a couple of weeks, and it's one of the things that I am worried about because we have sensitive neighbors. It depends on the dog that you will have. With the two girls, I never had that experience, not once. Finn was a totally different story. Finn was a nightmare. The first night, it took 2 hours before he stopped barking. And for that first week, he was barking for at least an hour every single night when he is crated. I've already given him Kongs. I gave him treats to satisfy him. When he finishes the treats, he starts barking until he gets tired and falls asleep. So it depends on the breeder where you will get the dog from, because oh my gosh, that was the first time I questioned my dog training, because man, really, Finn was a challenge. I will never forget Finn for that. And I felt so bad for our neighbor, because our neighbor is the most quiet neighbor ever. And I am surprised that they haven't complained about us. But yeah, that was a week, almost 2 weeks of sacrifice with Finn. So generally, poodles are not noisy, so long as you train them not to be. If you get them from puppy millers, and the ones who have their dogs stacked up in cages, chances are they will. Because most of those dogs, the minute they see people, they have so much energy, they start barking. If the puppies hear that, it's a behavior that is passed down, because puppies emulate the older dogs. When they do, it becomes an imprinted behavior, which is something that will be carried over to the new family. And if people respond each and every time to that barking, and they see it as a way for them to get your attention, and they get what they want, it becomes an imprinted behavior and they will keep doing it. It's hard to correct a dog when the behavior already imprints. So you just have to be careful. Is there a way to correct the barking? Yes. It's painful, but you gotta deal with it. Meaning, what I did with Finn, I tolerated it. I never gave attention. It was such a big sacrifice for the whole family. Nobody was allowed to give him attention until he stops barking. So that was our sacrifice. And I was praying that it will only last for maybe 3 days. Nope, it lasted for a whole week. Although it lessened over time. So that's the only way to fix it, in my opinion. Do not give them what they want. Holy moly. Ah! My batteries ran out. I cannot see the chat. Wait, let me try to open it with my phone. This should be okay now. There we go. Alright. Oops. Just kidding. How do I mute the sound of this one? Okay. There we go. Any two to help me decide on a miniature toy poodle or a Shih Tzu? For Janet. It's really up to you. What are you looking for your dog? If you want a non-shedding, go for the poodle. If you don't mind the shedding and you just want a lap dog and you don't need a lot of exercise, I think the Shih Tzu would be a better fit. Between a toy poodle and a miniature poodle, miniatures need more exercise than toy poodles in general, although that really depends on the personality of the dog. Because there are miniature poodles that don't need as much exercise so long as they're not high energy, just as there are toy poodles that are perfect example that do not need exercise and they are still pretty chill. And Bailey is the example of the toy poodle that needs a lot of exercise as well, so because she's high energy. And Finn is another example of a toy poodle that needs a lot more exercise, even more so than Bailey. So it really depends on the personality. It's not about the size. Okay. Leslie is saying, my toy poodle was technically a rescue. I found her in a box. Someone dumped her. And her siblings. She was the only one alive. She had severe separation anxiety, and you're working on it with a trainer. That's amazing of you for rescuing her. See, this is why it's so frustrating when people are breeding just for the sake of breeding. Or there's some people who will jump into the idea of breeding thinking that it's so easy for them to sell the dog at the premium price that they want, and then they don't get to sell it, and then they can't figure out how they're going to deal with the dog. So what they're going to do is either they're going to abandon them in the shelters or just abandon them everywhere, anywhere that they can possibly abandon them to, or give them away for whatever reason. Your dog is lucky to have found you as her owner. So yes, separation anxiety, so long as it's caught on early and you start with them, working on them as puppies, it's not going to be as hard to fix. I honestly think you will be fine. How long does Finn take to calm down and not shining on it? I told you the first night was 2 hours of non-stop barking. That's me tiring him out downstairs already with him barking non-stop there until he gets his food as well. And running around non-stop and playing with the toys non-stop as well. And then when he still gets here, he still lasted 2 hours of whining, barking, and crying. Crazy. If your dog is still whining until the third night, how are you reacting to your dog? If you're giving them a response, or maybe like you're shushing them and stuff like that, I'm not sure if that's gonna help. You have to completely ignore it. One way that you can do it, if your dog is inside a crate, get a towel and then cover the crate halfway. Make sure there's still a space underneath, of course, for them to be able to breathe. Otherwise, they're gonna suffocate. But you can also do that. That kind of helped a little bit with Finn. That's when he started settling down after 2 hours. Cover it halfway. That kind of tells them. And then I have a word that I mark at night. For me, it's sleepy time. When I say that, I don't repeat it more than twice. I just ask him to go inside the crate. I did not give a treat the first time. I just asked him to go inside the crate, which he did on his own, using a toy as a lure, or a treat as a lure inside. And then I closed the door and then covered it with the towel and then said, sleepy time, sleepy time. After that, I left him alone. And then he starts barking and biting, starts barking and whining and everything like that. I completely ignore it. I asked everybody in the house to deal with it. Not to look at him. Looking at him or looking at your dog is considered giving attention. So I don't ask it. I asked everybody to cooperate with me. Otherwise, it was not gonna end at that crazy behavior. And true enough, they saw the improvement after 2 to 3 days. So they saw that it was working, and everybody just followed through, and that's how we fixed it after a week. Although he still whines a little bit, but he settles after like a few minutes. Great. Do you recommend an online trainer? Online consultation will help to a certain extent if you're just asking for advice, but you can easily do that with people around. Like, you can message people from Instagram, and some experienced owners and stuff. They would be more than willing to give you the same consultation. And it's still different with a professional trainer, of course, but if it's a behavioral issue, I would suggest that you would do like a face-to-face class, because it's different. And I do not recommend that for your first time, I don't know what it's called, but when you board the dog and have the trainer fix the dog for you, it will only help to a certain extent, because the behavior gets restructured in a new environment. But once you bring back your puppy to the old environment, it's gonna revert back to normal. Not to mention if you cannot follow through. So for training, better to meet with a trainer face to face. But if you're already an experienced owner, meaning you have like background in training, online consultation will suffice, in my opinion. Because my friend, she does online consultation because she already did the face-to-face, and it works out. Because more or less, you would understand what the trainer is saying, or you can follow through with what they're guiding you to do and stuff. But if you're a beginner, I wouldn't recommend it. You're most welcome. Oh, my throat is getting dry. So, Angelique, I have a poodle, 3 months, and she won't eat dog food. 3 months old, and they won't eat dog food already? Wow! That's quite early. Try changing your dog food. This is why I don't recommend owners buying like the giant bags like that. I made a mistake when they were puppies. So I bought the giant bag of Akana. I used to feed them Akana from, what brand is that? It's a Canadian brand. And what I did not know is once you start opening the dog food, the minute you open it, it should only be consumed within 30 days, if I'm not mistaken. So, that idea of being able to save is actually such a bad idea because oxidation happens when you start opening the dog food already. So, it's not ideal for small dog owners who cannot surely finish the whole bag of dog food within 30 days to buy the big bags. It's best that we buy the smaller bags. But when we do that, I understand that it can be quite pricey. Also, there's that practice here in the Philippines. I'm not sure if it's being practiced in the US, where the bags are being sold by the kilo, and the bags are laid out outside under the sun and in the heat. So that elevates and speeds up oxidation even further and does a chemical reaction to the dog food, making them not last as long as they should. So do not buy those open air dog foods. What can you feed? Try changing the meals or adding maybe boiled meat, maybe chicken. If your dog is not allergic to chicken whatsoever, you can try that. Or buy meal toppers. See if that would work. Because, oh my, you have yourself a very, very picky dog, I guess. Niha? I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your names incorrectly. Please correct me. Greetings from India. Hello! Any suggestion on bones or freeze-dried treats that would be suitable for puppy toy poodle? Mostly he has a chewer, but impatient and loses interest very soon. Maybe the chunks that you're giving is a lot or quite big. That's why they're losing interest right away. Freeze-dried. For freeze-dried treats that you want the bone in, maybe the duck necks, chicken feet that are freeze-dried. You can also have that. For bones, when they were puppies, I really didn't give them bone. But you can give them those giant bones from either beef or pork. I'm sorry. I if my memory serves me correctly, in India there are certain religions there where you're not allowed pork or beef, but whichever, or maybe lamb. Lamb, there's like a giant bone from the lamb. You can give them that. But the ones that are usually available in the market are the freeze-dried turkey necks, freeze-dried duck necks, chicken feet, duck feet that are freeze-dried as well. You can also go for dehydrated ones, but it's really out of preference because dehydration is a certain form of cooking as well. Although there are many different claims that dehydrated treats also pulverize, but the ones that are surely pulverized are freeze-dried. But in my experience with the chicken feet, it does seem like the dehydrated ones are also pulverized on their own. There haven't been any experiences of my dog's treats splintering whatsoever. They're fine with it. Although it is recommended to give it to puppies at least 6 months of age at the very least. Whereas the freeze-dried, you can give them for as young as 2 months, if I'm not mistaken. Same as what happened to me with Angelique. I have a chain multiple dog, but luckily they like Royal Canin. Want their duck necks. So, for chews, in my experience, you have to figure out if your dog is a chewer or a swallower. If you have yourself a swallower, meaning they don't chew or gnaw on things, then I wouldn't suggest that you give any kind of chew in the first place. If they gobble up their food without even chewing, then that's a sign that your dog is a swallower or a gobbler, for that matter. And don't give them chews, especially when they're puppies. Or what you can do is, Bay, come here. Let's demonstrate. I have a treat here. So I have chicken necks here. Baby, come here. Come here. Come here. Here. Come, come. Oh, good girl. So you can give it to them like that and don't let go and let them chew on it. Good girl. That's how I taught them how to do it. Come on. Take it. She doesn't like chewing when she's being held up like this. Bailey is the type of dog who doesn't like being carried. She just likes being near you, but she doesn't like being carried and stuff. So that's what you can do with your pup. You can practice with them, whether they're chewers or swallowers. Don't let go of the treat. That's how you teach them how to chew on things. You know why she woke up? Because of these. You want one also? Of course, if I give one to the other one, I cannot not give this one. Oh. She woke up for food. So, yeah. My pup loves lamb ears, duck necks, duck feet, and tendons. Mine too. Except the lamb. Summer is allergic to lamb. I'm glad that it's lamb that she's allergic to and not chicken. Because lamb here is quite expensive. So I'm happy that she's not allergic to the cheaper versions of the meats and stuff. I see. So with Finn, yes, Finn stopped whining after a week. But that's with everybody in the family following through and not giving him attention, okay? It really depends on the situation. Sweet Dusty said, oh my gosh. Holy moly. It has been an hour and a half. I'm so sorry for keeping all of you. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all the questions. If you have any more, just feel free to comment them down below. I usually answer all the questions on the I reply to all the comments, just not immediately. But we do. I always reply as much as I can. And if you have any ideas of like future videos that we can possibly talk about and stuff, just maybe comment it down below, or maybe I can make like a Google sheet so that you can recommend or request stuff, because quite frankly I'm running out of ideas. And what do you guys think of the content so far? Are they too long, like the topics that I talk about in the videos? I don't know. I need some feedback. But I tried to... Oh, that's one thing I wanted to talk about. One last thing before we end. So if you guys would notice, I upgraded a little bit the layout and design of the videos. So if you would notice, each video has like a border, right? So I color coded them. So the pink ones are usually educational related videos. The yellow ones are more geared towards entertainment and stuff. And then the blue ones will be for vlogs. I'm not very good at vlogging, so I'm not sure how often I will be able to do that. And then the red ones are for lives. Yeah, that's what I have so far. Just so that those who are looking through the channel, maybe I can do like an intro video of like the channel so that people will understand. Because it's like a guessing game. So that's how I made it out to be, so that it's easy for everyone to decipher whether the content is something that they're interested in or not. Because creating entertainment videos is fun, but you also get burned out, just as, you know, with educational videos, you burn out the audience too. I know this for a fact because I'm a teacher. So the kids, when I deal with the kids, how do you... It's always a challenge how to get their attention and get them to understand the lesson and stuff. So I treat you guys, well, not exactly everybody, but like how I tackle the information, I always try to perceive it in such a way that, is this something that I will tolerate and actually watch? And stuff like that. So I hope it's working out. As for the training videos, it's kind of hard to demonstrate because the girls will do whatever it is that I asked them to do already. As for Finn, there was a limit to what I could do because if I do all the bonding sessions with him, I was afraid that he will get too attached to me. To a certain extent, he did, and it took a while for him to like adjust to his new family. Okay, updated question. He is 8 months old. I feel that he chews his treats, and when it becomes too small, then he sometimes would swallow it. So I was wondering if these chews would last more than 10 minutes. Summer had that habit as a puppy, and you just have to be careful. Maybe when you give the treat, you are always there to supervise. You never give a treat without supervision. I highly discourage that because that's where accidents can happen. And there's no such thing as the perfect chew that will never prevent choking. Choking happens when the dog, it's the behavior of the dog that causes the choking. It's not necessarily the treat, which is why it's kind of sad how sometimes in the US, the companies are automatically blamed for choking hazards and everything like that. It's just sad that everybody points a finger to everybody without pointing a finger to themselves when technically they're also partly responsible for it. But yeah. A video idea. You ask Finn, Summer, and Bailey questions that they answer using the buttons. I do not know if they will cooperate every single time because lately, oh my gosh, this is the first time that the girls have been staying out of my room, which I'm quite thankful for sometimes. Because every time they're here, we have like a session where I would talk to them and ask them a lot of questions. And I think they're getting tired of me. So what they would do, they would run downstairs to my mom's room and stay there to get rid of me. But you guys, if you can afford it, go get the buttons. I've never felt this connected with my dogs than I am now with these buttons. And that's just a few buttons and stuff. And I could see, especially with Summer over here, her eyes, they're so different now when she stares at me. It's like she's trying, I feel like she's trying to tell me something and she's trying to communicate. She never stared at me like that. It's very interesting, and I can't explain the joy I felt when she started telling me what she wants, and she knows she can tell me what she wants. Because now she's been active and crazy lately. And her favorite buttons, surprisingly, are play and toy, not food. Well, bed is still number one. Because that's the first button I actually taught her. Because she wouldn't press any of these buttons. She didn't want to deal with it. But I decided to try the bed button, which is for my bed because she loves jumping on my bed. Even if she's not allowed there, she will wait for me to sleep until I fall asleep, and then in the morning she's already beside me. So I gave up, and then I just gave her a prerequisite to get on the bed, which is the buttons. So yeah, it's amazing. I can't explain it. Yes, the goal is hurt and ouch. I would love to see a video on how you groom your pups. From bath? Really? You would be interested in that? Okay. It's really boring though, but okay. In one of the videos, I saw you had gotten buttons. So can you make a video on the buttons? Sure. I definitely have a video on that. The one coming out next week, the educational video next week, is the one about the buttons. Some sort of review, and I'll show snippets there. But I'll definitely make a separate video for how I taught them the buttons. I have so much videos here. But the sad thing is, I tried editing, because I have a CCTV here for them. And when I uploaded it to Final Cut Pro and even Premiere, even iMovies, for some reason the audio doesn't work. So I don't know if it's just my camera, or maybe it's because I downloaded it on my phone. I'll see if when I get the memory card, if it's gonna be any different. I hope I'm gonna be able to edit it. make the buttons. Okay. Are bully sticks safe for toy poodles? Like I said, any true treat, there's always a choking hazard. Even for toys, there are choking hazards. And it's really just up to you on how you're going to be able to manage your dog. If you're scared of them having to choke on things, maybe you can attach them to like maybe a bully stick, or there's a Kong that you attach the chews in so that it prevents it from getting too small, that the pups will be able to swallow them and stuff. That's one option that you can do. But yes, I give bully sticks, tendons, and practically any kind of chew to my girls. But I'm always there to supervise them, or there's always somebody there to supervise them when they're having the chews. Okay, I won't keep you guys any longer. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We do this weekly, not weekly, just kidding. I cannot do weekly. We do this monthly, a live monthly to stay in touch and everything. If you have questions, just like I said, comment on any of the videos. I always reply to them as soon as I can. And then we have our social media channels as well. Feel free to message us there. It just takes me a while to reply to all of them, but I look through all the messages. And thank you for the continued support. Have a good night and good morning to everybody. See you guys next time. How do I end this again? Oh, this is what I hate when there's like a new media. Here. Bye.